It's the voice of the one and only DJ Scream, letting you know that you are now in tune to the Casual Flex, where culture meets sports and casuals are welcome. Now here's your host, Phillip Dukes.
Yo, welcome to the Casual Flex. I am your host, Phillip Dukes, aka Dukes the Scoop. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Dukes the Scoop, and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. So I've decided that, I'm giving you a lot of good guests. I think last week I had Jalen Collins on. I've been doing a lot of guest work, and I thought it was time for me to jump in and kind of just rebrand myself and introduce some of our new followers and some people who've been tracking what I've been doing, and just to give a big shout out to everybody who's been keeping me going. I was able to go to the National Association of Black Journalists, Emerging Journalists convention last week, which was super dope. It really just kind of revitalized my energy for this, and to let me know is where I should be. So expect more and more Casual Flex, expect more and more Dukes to Scoop, and let's get right into it. So a report comes out this week. I think the Athletic puts it out, where they say if former Georgia defensive lineman Jalen Carter, who as early as maybe 2 months ago was in the running to be the number 1 overall pick in this year's NFL draft, there's a report that comes out that says that the Falcons, even if they had an opportunity to draft Carter at 8, they would not. I personally think that's a horrible idea for the Falcons. Why? Why would you not draft a guy for a team that needs as much help as they can along the defensive line, as many bodies to get a number 1 talent at a discount for a team that needs these type of bodies, these type of players? A Jalen Carter doesn't come along every day, every year. I hate to use the word generational, but there aren't a lot of guys who have the pedigree to be considered a number 1 pick. And outside of these off the field issues, which I'm not taking anything away from, an opportunity to draft a guy like this at the 8th spot is something that you just can't pass up unless you're a team with the type of resources where you can pass that type of guy up. One, I'm questioning, why would the Falcons come out and say that? Like, how does that help you to say that you won't draft him? I would think that you would want other teams to think that he was a possibility for you, just as far as some draft posturing. I'm not sure if this is a sneak attack, but why would you come out and show your hand so early if this report is true? Okay, let's talk about the off-field issues. Todd McShay comes out months and months and months ago and says that Jalen Carter, out of the blue, in the middle of Georgia's back-to-back championship run, he comes out of the blue and he says he's hearing that Jalen Carter has character concerns and could be possibly related to his activity in the locker room and amongst his teammates. Then, months later, after the tragedy that happens with the accident, and Jalen Carter is implicated to the point where he was charged with racing on the day of the combine that breaks, or the weekend of the combine, that news breaks. And then it's just like, McShay is just like, yeah, people are saying, see, McShay tried to tell you. First of all, Todd McShay never said that Jalen Carter had a problem with racing. He never said that Jalen Carter was an issue as far as making decisions with his car. He never said that. He said that Jalen Carter had character concerns, right, in the locker room, which was truly unfounded, because if you ask anybody from the University of Georgia on that team, which I've talked to multiple players, they speak of JC fondly. They talk about how good of a teammate he was. He never said a word about him funding partially the walk-on player, where that story comes out, where he's financially giving assistance to a walk-on player, one of his teammates. That stuff never comes out. But what you heard about was the news article about he's a character concern in the locker room. That's truly unfounded. But once you start to get those character concerns on you, now people are looking and they're wondering. But you know what? They push it to the side because Jalen Carter is a man among boys, right? Dominates. And then they say, okay, well, he shows up to his pro day workout out of shape. Let me ask you this. You're 21. You come off a national championship after somebody, one of the biggest names in sports media, basically calls you a cancer in the locker room, which has been unfounded. You play through that. You dominate the majority. You had some times what you could have worked on, but nobody, as far as from an NFL perspective, thought that those issues were big enough to drop you down the board. Then, right, the charges come out as far as the connection to the tragedy at Georgia. They're 21. You got all of this going on. You lose a really good friend of yours and teammate passes away. A staffer that you are familiar with and you know passes away in an accident, and all of this comes out, and all of this is happening as you're preparing for the draft, and they say, "Oh, he showed up out of shape." Wouldn't you be? Would you not feel a kind of way? Would you not feel any kind of way? Do you feel like you would be at your best fighting legal issues when you've never had any legal issues in the past? All you've had is a speeding ticket. Like, no incarceration. None of that. So I'm not saying that racing is good. I'm not saying that Jalen Carter shouldn't have made a better decision in any other times that he's driven this car with a speed limit. People speed all the time, and it's not right. But it's something that can be fixed, right? He is young enough to where if driving your car fast is your biggest issue, right, then that's something that can be fixed. The Falcons saying that, oh, yeah, well, he drove his car fast. He possibly raced. He could have raced. Pled no contest to racing. Yeah, we don't want to touch him. How, Falcons? How can you afford to say that? Why could you not see the value in rehabilitating somebody from racing a car? Of everything that the NFL has taken a lax stance on, we're talking about racing a car. Now, was he actually racing? Still remains to be seen. Was he speeding? Absolutely. So we'll say he has been convicted of speeding. Okay. That's something that I feel like you can talk to him about. Defensive driver. There are things that you can put in place, right? Where for the value that he would be on the football field, putting him close to Atlanta, close to Athens, where he has a support system, I think the Falcons are making a huge mistake if they don't choose Jalen Carter at that spot. We're talking about somebody who could play the zero technique all the way out to the 5 and be successful at each position. We're talking about somebody who anchored a defensive line at Georgia this year, where there was a lot of talk on whether Georgia would be successful again this year, and they were. We talk a lot about the linebacker, Smile Munden and Jamon Dumas Johnson, and those guys don't have the ability to run freely and make all the plays that they did without Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter is the type of player that makes your whole defense better because of what he can do at the point of attack. He was 8 pounds heavy. Look at what he's going through. Now they said, well, we don't want to invest the number 8 pick. Okay. I'm wondering how many more teams will come out and how many more teams will come out and say, we don't want to. We're not going to do that. And you know what it kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of the teams coming out and saying we're not interested in Lamar Jackson. Could there be collusion? Could this be a collective issue to drive the price down of certain players? Because I can't see what do teams have to gain from coming out and saying this on the front end? What competitive advantage do the Falcons gain by coming out and saying who they are not interested in? How does saying you're not interested in Jalen Carter help you in the NFL draft? To the Falcons, how does saying that you are not interested in Jalen Carter help you in the NFL draft when he is a first overall pick value that due to some issues may slide down the board? How does that help the Falcons or give the Falcons a competitive advantage by saying you're not going to draft him? What does it do for the Falcons morally? Like, where are the Falcons? What line are they drawing? Where is the line of thought in saying that you don't want Jalen Carter for the Falcons when anybody with eyes can see he's a player that would absolutely upgrade the pedigree of the Falcons along the defensive line where you need the most help? If Will Anderson is there, that's the only way I can see the Falcons not drafting Jalen Carter. And I am not, and I repeat, I am not minimizing at all the tragedy that happened at the University of Georgia. I'm not minimizing that at all. And much respect and prayers to the families of those who passed away and were involved in that accident. But Jalen Carter is still going to play in the NFL. He will. Some team is going to draft him, and some team is going to get a hell of a ball player. And I just don't think the Falcons are in a position to make that type of call with the type of help that they need. We're not saying draft him overall at number 1. We're saying at 8. He's shown he's been contrite about it. He's shown remorse. He's faced everything that he's had to as much as possible. And we're also understanding that this is still a 21-year-old kid. If he's not 21, he's 22 at the most, but I think he's 21. We're not talking about a 40-year-old man who's beginning opportunity after opportunity. And we can all say, you can always go to the worst case scenario and say, well, he could do this and he could do that. But everybody in the draft can do that. It's just amazing to me at what sometimes the NFL allows to go, what's okay for the NFL and what's not. I have yet to see the NFL, and I'm not going to even bring anybody else into that, but where does the NFL draw the line? What is too much and what's not enough? Some things are not preventable, and some things you're not able to see into the future. And if you're going to penalize every player for anything done in their past, then there wouldn't be an NFL. I'm pretty sure you could find something on a little bit of everybody, especially if it comes down to speeding. To Jalen Carter, my advice to you is, man, take everything that's going on. Get you a good therapist if you don't have one already. Keep your mental health together. And basically, man, take care of yourself. Take it seriously. And prove the naysayers wrong. And put yourself in the light where you can say that you won't speed and that you learned your lesson from speeding, and make every NFL team that passes on you pay. Speaking of the Falcons, so while I do not agree with the stance on Jalen Carter, if it's true, I can say that the moves that have been made in free agency I like so far. So what did we learn about what the Falcons did? We learned that the Falcons have chosen Desmond Ridder as the guy at quarterback. Desmond Ridder is your guy. You're a Falcons fan. Desmond Ridder is your quarterback. Now you give him an extra weapon in Mac Hollins coming over from the Raiders, a big-bodied receiver who's pretty fast, acrobatic, fits the profile of what the Falcons have been wanting to do on the perimeter. Bigger-bodied receivers. Guys that should be long arm guys who should be able to excel in blocking to help with that perimeter run scheme when they run it. I like the Mac Hollins. Love Jesse Bates. I think he's a game changer on the back end of the defense. I think that safety signing was huge. Young guy, 26 years old, very integral part of the turnaround that a lot of people talk about the emergence of Joe Burrow and those wide receivers. But Jesse Bates was basically the quarterback of that defense. So I think that's a huge pickup for the Falcons. The defensive lineman from New Orleans, I think is David Onyemata. Am I saying that right? David Onyemata. Yep. David Onyemata. 30 years old. Some people think he may be on the wrong side of 30 for a free agent. I don't. I think that he's somebody who knows how to win. He had a lot to do with some of those defenses that were smothering to the Falcons from out of New Orleans. Some familiarity with the Falcons' new defensive line coach. I think that he's another great pickup at a good price. You bring in a Mike Hughes. Mike Hughes, also a former first-round pick, has that pedigree. Drafted by the Vikings. I think he spent some time with the Chiefs. And he's somebody who I think that can come in and compete for that slot corner role. Could line up wide at the perimeter. So Mike Hughes, another good signing. I think the best thing you did was locked up your right side of the offensive line. And Chris Lindstrom, who may be the best guard in football right now. He's not the best. He's damn so the highest paid. He may have taken over the title from Quentin Nelson as the best interior lineman in the NFL. So I thought that was absolutely necessary. Bringing Caleb McGarry back on a deal that some people thought was a better value than what they think that he could have got on the open market. So you paid a little bit more because you didn't extend him last year. But hey, he came out, showed improved, so that's going to be important, especially the way the Falcons want to run the ball. So, yeah, I like what the Falcons have done in free agency. I think there's a little more to do. There's some more holes to fill. Which leads me to believe that the Falcons probably have to draft an edge rusher early and very early in the NFL. I don't see them signing any of the other edge rushers that are there. You got some guys who last year played well, the draft picks that you got. I know they're excited about D'Angelo Malone and Arnold Ebiketie. So, yeah, I think Falcons did a great job in free agency. I just can't see how you would come out this early and say you're going to pass on Jalen Carter. But, hey, I guess there's a method to the madness for the Falcons. And if it works for them, as a Falcons fan, a Falcon gone Falcon. Hopefully they Falcon the right way coming on. All right, so we're talking a lot about March Madness right now, and one of the first years that you're not seeing any blue bloods in the Sweet 16. No Kansas, no Duke, no Kentucky, no North Carolina. What a weird year. But what I think it lends us to is the parity in college basketball. So my question to you is, do you think that college basketball is better with new faces in the tournament? My answer to that is that what it shows you is you still have to have some camaraderie in basketball. You have to have some type of continuity. You cannot just recruit a bunch of blue chips and basically the Fab Five method won't work in basketball. In today's college basketball game, the Fab Five method will not work. You have to have continuity in order to be successful. No, let me change that. The Fab Five method will not work in college basketball. You have to have some experience in order to compete at this level. Why you say that, Dukes? Well, you look at the teams that are left, there's a bunch of transfers coming from smaller schools in the bigger stages, and if not smaller and bigger, but from to different opportunities. sometimes going from small school to big school, sometimes going from big school to smaller school. But what you're seeing is the teams that have more mature guard play, that have big men who are able to space the floor with their passing, those are the teams that are successful. The teams that play well together, the teams that have a lot of assists, the teams that take charges. There's not a lot of hero ball going on left in the Sweet 16, and I think that leads to us recognizing that team play is what wins you championships in college basketball. If you look at some of the teams that had some of that blue chip talent, you look at a lot of teams who were ranked in the top 10 before the tournament that are watching the tournament with us right now. And I think it just goes to show you that college basketball is going back towards the old days where you knew who was going to be on the team next year, or you knew that there were going to be older players in the tournament. A lot of these one and done guys aren't really flourishing in the college game, but they're becoming big time pros. And I think it's probably time just to start back letting those guys go straight to the guys that are ready. There has to be some type of provision put in place for the guys that are ready to go to the NBA. They should be able to go to the NBA. Okay. While we're talking about pros in college, Cam Newton comes out and says, there aren't 32 randoms better than me. Basically saying that why isn't he a starter in the NFL? So Cam Newton comes out and announces that he'll be throwing at Auburn's Pro Day, which I think is a good idea, especially for him if he wants to be a quarterback in the NFL, a starter. Do I think there are 32 better starters in the NFL than Cam Newton? Nah. Last year, the Texans could have used Cam Newton. Definitely. Last year, the Falcons could have used Cam Newton. Last year, the Panthers could have used Cam Newton. This is just three names off the top of three teams off the top of my head that could have used Cam Newton. And there are plenty more. So can Cam Newton still play in the NFL? Absolutely. Can he give you quality starts? Absolutely. Is Cam Newton the same Cam Newton from 2015? No, he's not. He's a different Cam Newton. I think that Cam is in a place where he understands more nuances of the quarterback position. I think that he'll be less reliant on his athleticism and more so on pre-snap reads. I think he has a different attitude. I think that Cam Newton may not be as much Superman as he used to be, but I think that could be a good thing for him because when you're not so dependent on supernatural athletic ability, it allows you to be more cerebral. And now it just comes down to can Cam be accurate? And I think that that's what he's going to show people at Auburn's Pro Day. And it makes perfect sense because at the combine, guys raise their stock throwing in shorts and shells. So what it'll give you is an opportunity to see Cam Newton running the same drills that you would see at the combine. Basically giving you a quarterback workout where he can make all the throws, where you could see him potentially have an opportunity to show his accuracy. And I think that's the one thing that's probably plagued him in recent years is can Cam make all the throws and can he make them on time and can he put them in a catchable position? Early on in his career, if Cam were to airmail one, you wouldn't really not realize it, but it wouldn't matter as much because what Cam was able to do with his athleticism and who he was and just being able to be a bully at the quarterback position where he can run some quarterback power, it didn't matter as much. Now, with some of that going away, just due to Father Time, and I'm not saying he can't be athletic, that he's not athletic anymore. What I'm saying is he'll be less reliant on his legs, and this is the Cam Newton that we haven't seen as much as we would have liked to. So I think now is an opportunity for Cam to reinvent himself. You can see some of that superior arm talent that he does have, and if Cam can show to himself to be accurate, I think you will see Cam Newton in the NFL again this year. I think it's time for it. I think that as long as he doesn't go out there and lay an egg at the Auburn Pro Day, he shows some accuracy on his throws. Probably he'll have an opportunity to talk to multiple team personnel. I think he'll be fine. I think he wants it. And I think that right now Cam is at a position where he wants the opportunity. And from me knowing anything about Cam and his resiliency and his want, and his will to fight and his will to win, I think that this is probably the version of Cam Newton where you could see that resurgence of Cam Newton. And, just as, for somebody who's been a fan, I hope this is the resurgence of Cam Newton where he's able to prove the naysayers wrong. And just we've heard the talk before. We've heard the whole, we've seen the videos. We've seen they seen this version of Cam. They ain't never seen this version of Cam. All right, that's all dead, Cam. You ain't got to talk to him no more, Cam. You ain't. So one thing about it, my message to Cam Newton, you don't tell him nothing. Let them talk. You ain't got to talk about nobody else in the NFL. You ain't got to talk, because he's really right. But Cam, you don't have to say nothing to nobody else in the league. All you got to do is go out there and prove it. Go work out. Go show him the accuracy. Go show him the Cam Newton that we know can win a game with his arm and can be accurate. Go show him that and don't say nothing else to him. And then at that point, if they don't let you in the gate, that's on them. But Cam, you ain't got to tell them nothing. Cam, you don't got to say nothing. Don't talk about the other 32. Don't even bring up randoms no more. You don't have to do that, Cam. Because at the end of the day, what you got to do is make it obvious that there's a reason that people don't want you in the league. And right now it's not obvious, right? Because you haven't shown that. The last couple opportunities that you got, it wasn't like that. So now the talking is dead. Don't even talk to him no more, Cam. Just outwork the naysayers and prove why you belong in the NFL with your arm and this right here and that noggin. Make the right reads, throw on time, throw to the right positions, keep receivers in stride, and galvanize the locker room. And let's get another 3-4 years out of the league, Cam. That's my message to Cam Newton. So if you aren't already, make sure you like and subscribe. If there's something that you want to talk about going forward, you'll see more of these videos. I'm dropping more frequently. I think it's just time for us to kind of lock in and give you more content. So make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dukes D Scoop. Hey, Dukes the Scoop, the Casual Flex. I'm out.